No. I keep telling the archivists it's 3 digits. 3! Honestly, the Dewey Decimal System isn't that difficult to understand. Oh! Hello there. Apologies, it's not often we get visitors to the Cosmic Archives, and mortal ones at that. I'm curious as to how exactly you found your way here. But where are my manners? I'm Attendant Ulrich, loyal assistant to the chronicler himself. But you can just think of me as a historian of sorts. I assume that's the reason you're here, is it not? To learn more about your world's rich history. I suppose I could spare a few minutes from my busy schedule. Why don't you take a seat, stay a while, and listen? The history of Arkos is primarily divided into 4 distinct portions, or ages, as they're commonly called. We're going to start at the very beginning, the Age of the Unknown. Eons before recorded history, at the dawn of time, a being of immeasurable power formed great worlds and expanses out of nothing. We know him as the Creator, for he breathed life into the universe that we find ourselves in. As the universe shifted and expanded, its primordial energies perpetuated into an annular cycle, ensuring that life and energy would constantly flow through every aspect of creation. I believe you mortals refer to this cycle as the Arcane Weave, the source of all magic in the universe. To maintain this cycle, the Creator brought forth 6 incorporeal beings that would serve as the pillars of creation, the Numenae. Each was meant to balance the aspects of the universe, and consequently each other. Through this cycle, the various realms of the cosmic sea began to form. Something occurred, however, that tainted the Creator's perfect designs. The Numenae became disjointed and fractured. This event sent a wave of chaotic, destructive energy that rippled across the realms, giving birth to vile creatures such as the Infernals and the Voidborn, and the denizens of the Beyond. With the Numenae disappearing from the material world, the Creator was left to mold a new race that would steward and protect creation from these newfound threats. Thus, the Ancients were born, divine entities, each given a realm to safeguard and watch over. This would be the start of the First Age, the Age of the Ancients. As the universe gradually became more stable thanks to the watchful visage of the Ancients, new races began to appear in what we now call the mortal realm. On the surface of the planet you call Arkos, elves, dwarves, and humans began to experience existence for the first time, with many more to follow. Back then, there were no mortal races, as all life was meant to exist indefinitely. The Ancients would even walk among these new creations, guiding them with their knowledge and teaching them how to channel a small sliver of their own power through divine magic. Out of all the races that would soon litter the face of Arkos, however, none were as advanced and dominant as the Alphasians. Arcane magic had always existed, but they perfected it, going as far as to develop their own variety of creation sorcery. Over the years, a vast Alphasian empire soon covered the face of Arkos, with many of them setting their sights on the very stars above. A rivalry soon formed between the Alphasians and Ancients, as the former saw no reason the latter should be above them in standing. But this progress also led to unchecked arrogance, and the Alphasians were not the only ones involved in the reckless pursuit of power. A number of the Ancients believed that creation was better off under their rule, to weave as they saw fit. Some were simply overwhelmed by the corrupting influences of the vile beings they fought against. Seeing an opportunity, the evil races joined forces with these Ancients to claim creation for themselves, or simply destroy it. Hence, the Ancients were forever divided in 2. The Prime Ancients, who fought to protect their charges, and the Fallen, who sought to corrupt and destroy. What followed was the most devastating event in the universe's history, a year-long cosmic war known simply as the Cataclysm. Not much is known about the specific battles that ensued, but the scars they left upon the realm still exist to this day. Perhaps most notably, the races of Arkos lost their immortality during this time, save for the Alphasians. A curse, rather than a blessing, if you ask me. Nevertheless, some mortals rose up to help their ancients fight, for good and for ill. These champions were given powerful artifacts and weapons imbued with divine power. Other mortals simply hid or fled. Many perished. It was also during this time that the Numine indirectly reappeared in the material world. Certain mortals became avatars, different conduits for the Numine's will, all beings of incredible power, capable of interacting with the arcane weave directly. Whether or not these mortals still retained their own free will, or remained unaffected by whatever fractured the Numine, is unclear. For a time, it seemed as though the mortal races of Arkos would go extinct. Eventually, however, the Prime Ancients triumphed, casting the beaten forms of their fallen brethren down into various prisons across the realms, some even landing upon Arkos itself. The cataclysm finally ended when the Creator himself plunged his sword into the heart of the Alphasian Empire, banishing the remainder of the people to a realm known only to him. And then, history tells us, the Creator disappeared. Some say he was heartbroken that his creation would betray him. Others, I'm getting into conjecture here. The cataclysm was over, but its end had come at a terrible cost. The great cities and civilizations of the First Age were utterly destroyed. Only Cradle, home of the immortal flame, survived. The lands of Arkos itself were barren and desolate. Seeing the devastation they had inadvertently caused, the remaining ancients used a large portion of their own power and essence to create the Barrier of Providence. This divine gate would ensure that none of the ancients could interfere with the mortal realm directly, and sealed all divine powers behind it. From this point on, the power of the ancients would only be wielded by their most devout followers. Thus began the Second Age, a time where mortal kind struggled to rebuild after losing so much. Knowledge and great magic power that was once rampant was now lost to time, and many mortals felt abandoned by the Creator and the ancients who once walked among them. Pockets of hope began to appear, however. New races emerged on Arkos during this time and began to establish a semblance of society. This age was not called the Age of Monsters for nothing, however. The great primordial drakes appeared and ravaged the newly separated continents, opposed only by a group of heroes called the Cosmic Council. Armies of Infernals attempted to invade the tribal communities of Arkos during the war known as the Crimson Harvest. On the continent now known as Crescentia, the fallen ancient Nex, the Screaming Tyrant, made himself known towards the end of the Second Age. Using power derived during his time as an Alphasian, and later an Ascended Ancient, the entire northern world soon fell under Nex's rule, thousands falling victim to Nex's armies of undead. While Arkos fell further into darkness and dismay, a brave woman from the northern tribes of the Brinklands began a quest to unite the various races of the land and regain their freedom. Mithra Crescentia, together with other heroes, formed the Order of the Eclipse and fought a great battle against Nex known as the Eclipse War. After many sacrifices, the Order used an object known as the Eclipse Stone to open a portal to the void itself and sealed Nex inside. With his hold over Arkos gone, Mithra declared freedom for the northern world before establishing the Crescent Empire. And now we find ourselves in the current Third Age, the Age of Heroes. The nations of Arkos were finally able to establish themselves and grow prosperous as trade and exploration surged with newfound momentum. The prolific Church of Creation was formed as Arkos' dominant religion, and knowledge was acquired by many at an unprecedented level. On the northern continent of Crescentia, the Crescent Empire prides itself on being a beacon of justice and freedom, alongside their dwarven allies of the Brink Mountains. To the east is the continent of Solanus, a geographically varied land split into 3 sections. Frigus, a sparsely populated and largely untamed frozen wilderness. Orion, ruled by and named for the nationalistic Orion Inquisition. And Velant, a land of scholars long ruled by the Solidor royal family. Off the west coast lies Luxapor, a city-state ruled by the criminal organization the Syndicate. To the southeast rests Scandia, housing the trade-centric Confederacy in the west and the militaristic Iron Dominion to the east. Venturing to the southwest, one would find the continent of Revros, where civilization first re-emerged after the Cataclysm. The vast Harenay Desert covers the west, while the nations of Shegoth, Poxmal, and New Calem take pride in their ships, faith, and ecology, respectively. Just north of Revros sits the Isles of the Draconian Republic, the longest functioning democracy on Arkos. A culturally and topographically rich land, the lush jungles of Draconia house just as many wonders as they do dangers. Finally, to the northwest lies the small continent of Thunderfell, housing the gnomish city of Cognitos. The technological marvels produced in their fires of industry are unrivaled across the nations. Arkos is a land rife with change, marked by both power and potential, where evil forces are forever seeking new ways to control and destroy, but where heroes will always rise up to meet these challenges and warm the hearts of those around them. Oh dear, I seem to have rambled on for longer than I'd intended. I need to get back to work. And you need to get back to, well, whatever it is you do. After all, there's one story that still needs to be added to Arkos' history. Yours.